Good morning, family. Want to give a shout out to all of our family who's watching in places like Florida, hi, Texas, hi, and even in California, other places like Big Bear and San Diego. And okay, I have to do this. So this really feels like Romper Room. So for those of you that remember Romper Room, thank you. Remember the magic mirror? I see Avalon, hey best friend, and I see Catherine, I see Michelle. So thank you all for joining us this morning. It's great that we can connect this far and this wide. Maybe heaven will be like this. All right, family, let's move on to the exhortation. So today we're looking at Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. I don't know a lot about iron, so I really fell down a rabbit hole researching it this week. Try to keep it short, but come with me on a journey for a moment. The first thing I found out was iron is the 10th most abundant element in the universe, and it's the 4th most abundant element in the Earth's crust. So iron is literally everywhere, but you have to dig for it. And it's more efficient if you know what other elements contain the most iron. And there are two big ones. The first one is hematite, and the second one is magnetite. So hematite is known for this red streak that goes through it. And in fact, hematite is used as ground up, and because of that red streak, it's used as a red pigment in many, many things. Magnetite is just what it sounds like. It's a natural magnet. So actually the scientific community, it's super, super important to. But I was thinking, what else is iron in? And I realized iron is in our blood. And in fact, if any of you have ever donated blood, you know that that's one of the first main things they look for before you can even donate is, do you have enough iron in your blood? So I was wondering why. Why is iron so important in our blood? This is why. Iron bonds to oxygen, and that is how oxygen moves through our blood. If the iron wasn't there, the oxygen would just get absorbed instead of moving around so that every organ and everything that needs oxygen would get it. So I was making this crazy connection. Blood is life. We know that. Okay, if we bleed out, we don't have blood, we're dead. Blood is red, like that red streak in hematite. And iron latches onto oxygen. It magnetizes to oxygen in our blood, like the magnetite. The church exists because of the blood of Christ that was shed for us. And we are ambassadors of that church. So I want to read for a moment from the book of Titus, chapter 1, verses 15 and 16. Now, in this chapter, Paul is writing to Titus and giving him instructions about how the elders of the church should think and behave. And this is what Paul says in verses 15 and 16. To the pure, all things are pure. But to those who are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. In fact, both their minds and consciences are corrupted. They claim to know God, but by their actions they deny him. They are detestable, disobedient, and unfit for doing anything good. Now, we are not all called to be elders in the church. However, we are all called to be witnesses. But how can we be witnesses for Christ if we are not sharp? Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12 says, "For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword." The foundation of the church is the blood of Christ shed for us. Iron is the main component in our blood to move oxygen. But iron has to be sharpened or it will become dull and rust. So here's my question to you. How sharp are you in your faith? How many Bible verses do you have memorized? How many Bible truths do you know? How much of the Bible do you apply to your daily life? Now, I'm asking you as an individual, but the truth is we are not meant to be alone. In fact, in the Garden of Eden, where we all began, God himself says it's not good for man to be alone. And in the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 20, Jesus says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I with them." So here's my challenge to you, to all of us. Find your person. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Better yet, find your people. Find the people who will sharpen you by challenging you, who will challenge you to memorize Bible verses, who will challenge you to learn and understand biblical truths, and who will challenge you by holding you accountable to applying the Bible to your daily life in all things at all times. Because when we have the right people around us, then we will get sharper. And the sharper we get, the more we'll be able to help others become sharp and maintain their sharpness. And if we're all that sharp and moving about in the world, then we can be true ambassadors and true witnesses of Christ, the lifeblood of the church.